Did you guys hear that former batting champion Jose Altuve was dropped to 7th in the Astros lineup yesterday? Turns out it's tougher to hit a slider when nobody tells you it's coming. Did you guys catch the cover of the New York Post this morning? No Stanton, no Judge, no LeMahieu, no problem. That's because the Red Sox are no bueno. They are not good this year. The Yankees just massacred them this series, and last night wasn't lopsided, but the Red Sox just never threatened. So, I mean, maybe a little bit in the 9th inning when they put the tying run on base, but you just knew that Zach Britton was going to shut the door because the Red Sox have no fight in them this year. They know they're not winning anything. They're 6-16, and it feels good to watch the Yankees just kind of step on their throats right now. Not hearing much out of Red Sox fans. It's awfully quiet around here these days. I had a dream last night that Gleyber Torres hit 3 home runs in tonight's game. And, don't go betting all your money on it, but I've been known to prognosticate. I remember back in 1996, I had a dream about Jimmy Key. I don't remember what the dream was, but I predicted something. And I remember I told my dad about it. And he said, oh, imagine being a kid and still dreaming about baseball. Well, I'm 37 years old, and I'm still dreaming about baseball. I can't help it. I don't think it will ever go away. But that's just the way it is, and it's not so bad. I mean, I'm working late into the evening, and I'm thinking baseball. I'm working in baseball, so it makes sense that I would dream about baseball. I remember when I worked in retail, I would work at Blockbuster Video, and I worked till like 1 in the morning sometimes. And I would go home and dream about work, especially on days where I had to open the next morning at like 7 a.m. and you wouldn't get much sleep. I would go home and I was dreaming that I was working. And that was the worst because it was like working for free. It was like going to your job and not getting paid. It sucked. So last night we saw Tyler Wade in there at second base. He replaced DJ LeMahieu. He's probably going to be the starting second baseman while LeMahieu is out. And I like Tyler Wade. I like him. I used to not like him that much, but he's gotten better. He's bulked up a bit. He's got more power. Not so much home run power, but gap-to-gap, extra base hit power. And he's fast, so he can bunt on you. He can beat out a chopper, that type of thing. He can steal bases. Now, you lose him as a weapon coming off the bench to run, but I feel like he's going to be playing second base against right-handed pitchers. Against lefties, you may see Thairo Estrada, so the Yankees are kind of going with that similar platoon that they're doing with the DH spot, where it's Mike Ford and Clint Frazier, kind of rotating in the absence of Giancarlo Stanton, with Tauchman out there and right filling in for Judge. That's kind of how it looks is happening. But for second base, it's going to be Estrada and Wade. Now, they did call up Miguel Andujar, and I found that interesting because they could have called up, another second baseman. They could have called up, a utility guy. But they chose to go with Miguel Andujar, which leads me to believe there may be instances, such as against Blake Snell, a tough left-handed pitcher, that you might stick Andujar at third base and shift Gio Urshela over to second base. Gio Urshela is a great defender. He's played all over the infield. He can play second base, he can play third base, he can play shortstop. Andujar can pretty much only play third base and the outfield, and he's not a bad third baseman. He's just not a great third base. Well, I take that back. He's a pretty bad third baseman, but he's serviceable out there. So I'd feel comfortable with him at third base as long as he's hitting. Now, before he got sent down, he wasn't hitting, and that's because he wasn't getting any at-bats. A guy like Miguel Andujar, who's more of a feel hitter, more of a wrist hitter, a guy who's a reactionary hitter, that's why he hits the ball all over the ballpark. He just kind of takes the ball where it's pitched and just hammers it. That's the type of guy that needs reps. You got to get in there and get a lot of at-bats and get into a rhythm. But then, once you're in a rhythm, you're very tough to get out. That's why he hit like 297. He had 27 home runs as a rookie. He's an electric hitter once he gets going. Now, he's still coming back from the labrum surgery. We've talked about that before. There's no guarantee that he's going to be 100% coming back from that. I mean, look at Greg Bird. His career was derailed after that shoulder surgery. So, same surgery that Andujar had. So, I don't know exactly what the Yankees are planning for Andujar. Maybe it's just, giving a couple of days off to somebody like Urshela, or, mixing him into the mix at DH and first base. I don't know. But, obviously they felt his bat was heating back up. I think a good test to see how the Yankees feel about his bat is whether or not he'll be in the lineup tonight. The Yankees have already taken this series. They've already won 3 in a row. They're undefeated at home. I feel like you're playing with house's money at this point. You got a big series coming up against Tampa Bay. I feel like tonight might be a night where they rest some guys. They might rest Urshela and put Andujar back in there at third base. That might have been why they called him up. Just, hey, look, we can't afford to lose Urshela right now. Give him a day off. Let him rest in a game that really, it means nothing to the Red Sox. So the Yankees, as long as they put a moderate amount of pressure on the Red Sox, they're going to fold, and the Yankees can sweep this series. But, it's a chance to give some guys a day off. I think you might see Gardner sit back down, and I think you'll see Clint Frazier in the outfield tonight. You'll probably see Luke Voit back in there. But since Mike Ford is swinging the bat so well, he'll probably be in there at DH. So, there's a lot of things the Yankees can do. That's one of the things that makes them great is the depth that they have. So, looking forward to seeing what happens tonight. But I do hope we get to see Miguel Andujar because I feel like he wouldn't have been called up unless he was swinging the bat well. On the hill tonight, Jordan Montgomery, he is 2-1 with a 5.17 ERA. First time out, he had pretty much the Yankees' best start in the first trip through the rotation. He went 5 2/3 with 1 earned run against the Red Sox. Struck out 4, did serve up 1 home run. Next time around against the Phillies wasn't so good. He struggled with command. He gave up a few too many hits. 7 base runners in 4 innings, but 5 earned runs was the story, and that pushed his ERA up to 5.59. And then last time out, he was cruising along against the Braves, did serve up a home run, but ultimately went 6 innings, 3 earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. I think it's worth noting that he has 3 walks and 10 strikeouts this year, so the command has pretty much been there. The velocity has been up. The changeup has looked good, better than I remember. The curveball is good as always. And the fact that his velocity is up is really encouraging because you figure, maybe coming back from an injury, a guy's velocity might be up because of adrenaline. He's excited to be back and really, the arm is fresh and has just been rehabbed. But the fact that he's maintained it a few starts in is pretty good. That means that his arm is really, really healthy. So look forward to Jordan Montgomery pitching well tonight, and I feel like he's going to have a really nice season. I feel like he could end up being a big part of this postseason roster. Perhaps, the number 2 or number 3 starter, depending on how Paxton and Tanaka do. Paxton has been a little bit up and down. Tanaka's been pretty good. Not quite as good last start, but if Jordan Montgomery can consistently give you 6 good innings with the Yankees bullpen, I mean, that's enough. All right, so the Yankees have won 5 in a row. They're undefeated at home. When you're in a streak like this, it really starts to pick up around 6 games. You can feel the momentum go after you get to about 6-7 games because that's a week's worth of wins. And after that, everybody's scratching and clawing not to let that streak end. I would love to see the Yankees get an extended winning streak of, 8, 9, 10 games while you're missing all these guys. That would be a great story. And earlier I mentioned Jimmy Key, former Yankees pitcher. So I wanted to share with you the greatest SportsCenter commercial of all time. And now, this.
We've drafted kids right out of high school. We had this one kid. You would not believe the scouting reports. Rays, up and down, can't miss.
Once again, the Indians appear to be the team to beat.
Emotionally, though, he just wasn't prepared.
Jimmy Key is attempting to come back.
Jimmy Key, what's he like, 45? I could hit him.
I mean, it's a different game in here.
Jack, you watch the game? I mean, didn't it suck? It sucked.
It is with much regret that I announced that I am leaving SportsCenter.
Bottom line, he just came out too soon.